Hi guys, in today's video I'll be unveiling one of property's biggest secrets. The traditional property investors hate this strategy. Shh, you don't want to miss this one. The biggest reason for anyone not to get involved in property is a lack of funds and, more importantly, knowledge. In today's video, we'll be looking at an innovative property strategy which requires little to no money to get started. It has shaken up the property industry and those at the top hate it. I will go through what the strategy is, the advantages and disadvantages, and how to analyze a property deal using this strategy. For those of you new to the channel, we at the Investor Club with Sandeep focus on investing money and property. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe. So let's get into it. I hear you saying, what is this strategy, Sandeep? So this strategy is called rent to rent, or as I like to call it, property control and profit strategy. Before we get into the mechanics of the strategy, let's understand what the strategy actually is. The rent to rent strategy is when you control a landlord's property by offering them a guaranteed rent and renting on the property by room for a higher amount and keeping the profit from undertaking this activity. The first stage of the rent to rent property strategy is to rent a property from a landlord for 3 to 5 years using a management agreement and guaranteeing the landlord's rent for the entire time without any fees or commissions. I can already hear your questions such as, why the heck would the landlord agree to that? And this has to be illegal as it is subletting. I'm going to tell you why the landlord would agree to this. Firstly, the landlord would have no voids as you have guaranteed the rental amounts each month, regardless of whether you fill the property or not. Secondly, you have also taken over the management and maintenance of the property, making it a passive investment for the landlord. Thirdly, you have also taken over the responsibility of handling tenants, making it headache-free for the landlord. And lastly, you have also taken over expenses, which means you're responsible for any fluctuations in those bills. Now let's look at the subletting point. This is not subletting as you are taking on the property via a management agreement. Everything you do takes into account the legal and compliance process, and then you are letting out the rooms via an AST. I can hear some of you saying, then why not use the AST when taking on the property as a rent to rent? The reason for this is because an AST is for individuals and a management agreement is for companies. And one thing I will say is please do not use an AST to take on a property on a rent to rent. In this video, I want to give you a fair view of the strategy. One thing I would say is when agreeing the guaranteed rent deal, it really has to work for the landlord. It has to be a win-win situation. If the landlord feels that they can get a higher rental amount in the open market, then this is something you need to consider whether it's a good idea to take the property on or not, as you will be working with the landlord for 3 to 5 years. So guys, now that you know what the strategy is, you're probably wondering, where do you find these kind of deals? So your primary source of finding these deals is a letting agent or real estate agent. They don't advertise such deals, but once you start calling them, you'll realize that these deals are available. Also, you need to be looking at your marketing and be prolific at it. So you need to be sending out letters, leaflets, and any other type of direct mail. Another great way is to look at online marketing. So look at Facebook ads, Google ads, as this has a bigger reach than sending out direct mail. And lastly, word of mouth. I can't tell you how important it is to tell everyone what you're doing and what you're looking for. You'd be surprised how many people talk to each other and how that can be a way of finding deals. For those of you that use the rent to rent strategy with HMOs, I'll give you a little hack. When using the HMO register, which can be found on your local council's website, use a targeted approach rather than sending letters to everyone. This way you can access a micro market that you've identified and get better results. As this is not conventional renting, it is your task and responsibility to make sure that the landlord understands the rent-to-rent strategy before proceeding. The second stage of the rent-to-rent property strategy is that you carry out a free cosmetic refurbishment and fully furnish the property to attract professional tenants. One thing I would say is please do not do massive refurbishments or developments. The free cosmetic refurbishment should be no more than £6,000 to £7,000 at a stretch. You have to remember rent to rent that the property you take on is not yours and you do not own it. The refurbishment is to get the property to a professional standard so that you can attract the best tenants. The cosmetic refurbishment can include furnishing the bedrooms and the living rooms. In the bedrooms, you may want to get a new bed, chest of drawers, and bedside tables. You will also buy soft furnishings such as coloured pillows, throws, curtains, and artwork. You may also want to do paintwork in the property. In the bedrooms, you may want to add feature walls, or you may want to go neutral in the whole house. You will also want to look at lighting to see whether the bulbs work, whether they are energy efficient, and whether the design of the lighting goes with the theme. In the kitchen, you will need utensils, cutlery, and also small appliances such as kettle, toaster, and microwave. Once you have done this, you will need to stage the property for photography. The next thing you need to do is to hire a professional photographer so that you can get good quality photos for your advert. The third stage of the rent-to-rent property strategy is to advertise your professional rooms on property platforms such as Spare Room, Gumtree, and OpenRent. I would go further and advertise on Facebook ads, Google ads, do leafleting, and also use T-boards as they really do work. Your ad needs to be professional, as in certain areas rooms are competitive and you need to stand out. So have a think about what else you are bringing to the table in your advert. You can be offering free Netflix, have an option for no deposits when taking on tenancies, have pizza and movie nights. You have to think outside of the box. The next thing you need to do is smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. The fourth stage of the rent-to-rent property strategy is to set up viewings with your professional and corporate clients and secure the very best tenants. Your prospective tenants are going to be customers of your business. You need to be comfortable with who you are letting into your property so that you can provide great customer service. Do not pick the first ones that come along. Really think about the tenant types, the location of the property, and also the mix of the tenants. In this stage, you will set up the viewings, confirm whether the tenants would like to proceed, reference the tenants, and also check them in. The fifth stage of the rent-to-rent property strategy is to take over the management and maintenance of the property so that the landlord can have a hands-off experience. This is where you'll be most active once you have found your tenants. It is your responsibility to make sure the house is in working order. I hear you saying, this is where property sucks. I couldn't agree more. However, we need to find a way of minimizing maintenance and management of the property. The way to do this is to inspect the property regularly. I will be making a separate video on this as part of a series very soon. As part of the inspection, you are checking the condition of the house, general wear and tear, whether the doors and locks still work, hot water, and also whether the fire alarms are operating. Stage 6 of the rent-to-rent property strategy is at the end of the agreement when you give the landlord 3 options: to extend the contract, for you to purchase the property, or to give the property back to the landlord. If you do a good job and have a good relationship with the letting agent and the landlord, you could be cash flowing from someone else's asset for decades. Once you get control, it is in your power to keep it. Now that we have been through the different stages of the rent-to-rent property strategy, let's look at the advantages and disadvantages. The first advantage is that you are not buying the property, you are renting the property, which means you do not need a mortgage. This is a benefit because you can do rent-to-rent deals quicker and you do not need to be waiting for legals and surveys. It is worth noting that if you have bad credit, low income, or you're new to the country, these factors don't matter as you are not buying the property and you are renting it. And related to this, you do not need deposits as you are not purchasing the property. Typically, when purchasing a property, you need 20% as deposit, which on a £100,000 property would be 20,000. With a rent-to-rent deal, you can get started with little to no money, and you do not need to be worrying about a lack of funds. Another advantage of doing rent-to-rent is you also avoid other fees such as legals and stamp duty that you would incur if you were purchasing a property. Rent-to-rent allows you to cash flow from someone else's assets in months, whereas other businesses can take years to break even. Another advantage is that rent-to-rent businesses are easier to scale than investment businesses. With a rent-to-rent business, you can become profitable very quickly. If you look at some of the greatest businesses, they own nothing and control everything. Examples would be Facebook, who don't own any information, Airbnb, who don't own any properties, and Uber, who don't own any taxis. It was Rockefeller that said the secret to success is to own nothing and to control everything. As I said, I want to present a fair view on the rent-to-rent strategy, so here are the disadvantages. One of the disadvantages of the rent-to-rent strategy is that you do not benefit from capital growth, and this can be a biggie, as for example, if you were making £1,000 profit from a property and you did this for 5 years, you would have a profit of 60,000. However, if the property went up in value 100,000, you would not be the beneficiary of this upside. On the other hand, if the property were to decline in value, you would be unaffected. Another advantage of the rent-to-rent strategy is that you are exposed to all the risks that you would have if you owned the property, such as voids, maintenance, and bills. So this is something you need to stay in control of, as if your maintenance or your bills were to spiral, this could really erode your profits. One of the disadvantages that is often not talked about is that you are never in full control. As for example, if the landlord was to fail to make mortgage payments, the house could get repossessed, or the landlord could simply change their mind and terminate the agreement. This may result in you being in a tricky situation with the landlord and having to go through a legal battle. The rent-to-rent strategy can be applied to single lets, HMOs, which are houses of multiple occupation, service accommodation, and also commercial properties. Let's now look at a rent-to-rent HMO deal. As you can see from the section highlighted in green, the first thing we do is calculate our rental income. So in this example, we have 5 letting rooms, 3 of which are £600 and 2 rooms which are £500 each. This is a total rental income of £2,800. The second thing we look at is expenses. And in expenses, the things we are looking at are the monthly landlord rent that we will be paying, some of the other expenses associated with running the HMO, such as Wi-Fi, council tax, water and electricity, gas, and also TV license if you decide to buy one. Once we have done this, we are looking at the monthly cash flow. You can calculate the monthly cash flow by deducting the expenses from the income. As you can see from this deal, the monthly cash flow would be £950, which is a great deal. I think I would only do a deal if it was more than 500 based on the number of rooms that is in the property. If you would like to get started with this great property strategy, hit me up on Instagram, like this video, and I will offer you a free 30-minute call to discuss any questions you have. Has this property strategy blew your mind, and are you thinking about taking action? I would love to hear from you, so please leave a comment below. As ever, if you would like to see more videos on investing, money and property, please subscribe, smash the like button and turn on your notifications. I will be posting videos twice a week that will increase your financial literacy and help you create the life that you want. Remember, risk is to be managed, not avoided. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.